Okay, here we go. Brian Trammell, my buddy, is here.
Hey, Joel.
Brian.
Hey, y'all always talking about all the stuff y'all started. I just want y'all to know that the Undertaker would not have been the Undertaker without me. I took photographs of him in the cemetery here in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Damn it! And
there you go,
Mark Calloway. You owe me.
You tell him.
Joe, what I want to talk about, we do in May, we do all episodes are Memphis in May. All we do is talk to the local talent. There's a new Memphis Rasslin that's been going for a little over 160 weeks. I actually provide content for them, do their podcast. But we also talk about, old things about Memphis. I have a horrible memory. So I do know, and I'm not sure who gave me the tapes. I'm not sure if it was Carmelo or if it was you, but someone gave me tapes that I gave to Lawler so he could listen to y'all's radio show. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. It was Carmelo that gave you the tapes. All right. And I know that she went through them. She wanted to give the good ones out to him. But I do remember, I had nothing to do with that. I remember it was Carmelo.
Well, what I was doing, I gave him the tapes, but then I was calling the radio show, and we're supposed to have one of those shows up where we would all talk about Memphis, and I would tell you what happened on the Memphis show the week before or that day. I know y'all love the news, and me and Carmelo's talked about y'all got some stuff out of Observer and some of the other kayfabe sheets. But what was y'all's fascination? Both of you can answer this, but really, what was y'all's fascination with just Memphis wrestling?
Well, I'll give you my answer. Carmelo will certainly give you hers. One of the things you used to in TV run angles. They don't run angles anymore. Okay? Memphis wrestling, when we went down there and we did our bus tours, and Jerry, God bless Carmelo's contact with him, Jerry just gave us the world. We went.
Well, wait, Joel. But that was because I gave him tapes, by the way, and so I'm the one. Y'all got to give me credit for the damn bus trips. Now.
Okay. Well, the bottom line.
All you, Brian.
The bottom line with all this stuff is you used to run angles on Saturday morning television.
It was a commercial for Monday night.
They did Saturday morning, and then the guys drove 4.5 hours to go to Nashville. Okay, they do Saturday night shows, and the neat thing with Memphis was you went on Saturday night and you saw what happened last week in Memphis.
The week before. Right.
So you always saw how they worked television. Then when we did the show in Jackson, Tennessee, okay, it was a bar that was cut out and everybody was hanging around in 3 stories, and we went to see the matches. We saw that in Jackson, Tennessee. It was great to see. I can go through the names without boring people to death, but Memphis grew the business, okay? Jerry knew how to work television. I watched the videotape the other day when Missy Hyatt watched Jerry's car. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Good stuff. Missy was so good down there. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm going to interject here for a minute. When we started the store, before we started the store, my ex-husband, Paul, again, we talked about this earlier in the show, had connections all over the world. So we had tapes from Japan. We had tapes from Mid-South. We had tapes from the West Coast. We had tapes from Puerto Rico. We got those big VHS tapes. Back then it was Betamax, all that. We had so many Memphis tapes. If I'm not mistaken, we even had people in our house over and over again to watch these tapes.
Sure.
So that is what really brought an interest of Memphis to us. And then, of course, we got a hold of Brian, and then Brian went from there. So that's my side of it.
Yeah.
You were talking about, and I've got friends, we talked about this, but I've got friends from Jamie Ward being one of them, a few other guys that are still my friends after all them years of just getting on that bus. And you was talking about Jackson, Tennessee. I don't remember Jackson, but I know we were there, but I don't remember. What I remember about Nashville the first time, and everyone talks about this, going to Nashville for the first time with a group of people was the way the crowd, that place was what wrestling was about, because they would pop for a drop kick. They would, no matter what you did, the crowd moved with with the wrestlers. And I actually would manage some people in Jackson, Tennessee one night, and that crowd was exactly like that. It was almost like everybody just believed so much. Well, they did. They believed a lot more. What year was that? 86, 87? So,
Yeah,
they did believe more then. But it was that feeling in Nashville. To me, I never was able to get that feeling except for in that building. And that was run by Jeff Jarrett's grandmother. She was one of the only female promoters that booked every Saturday night right there. So I wonder about those Memphis trips. And, I want you to know, Joel, Carmela knows this, but the only reason I was trying to be friends with Carmela is I was trying to hook up with one of her friends. So that's what it had to do with.
Oh, that was the only reason. Thanks a lot. I hate you now.
I'm sorry, Jeannie.
Everybody except Jeannie.
It was another friend of hers, and no.
But I'm dying to know who.
Just to add a little bit, just to add a little bit to what Brian had asked. When we went down to Memphis, and the announcers were there, and they met us for a breakfast. Dave Brown and Lance Russell. They did that. Then Jerry made sure that we all got into the back. I remember this goes back, I'll say 5 years ago. Jeff Jarrett was in for one of Rob Feinstein's icons. And I happened to go up to Jeff, and Jeff says, wait, I got to remember, Joel. And now I certainly don't look the way I used to look. Joel. And he made me sit down with him for about, I'd say close to an hour, just shooting the shit and things.
Fantastic guy. Jeff Jarrett. I met Jeff during those I guess I call it a con, but the bus trips. And me and him still correspond after all this time, back and forth every once in a while. I'll send him something and say, hey, that was fantastic, or hey, what you doing? How's life treating you? And he just,
why don't you see if you can get him on our podcast?
He don't do, because he's doing his own. We had him for a long time ago. We had him for like 20 minutes in one of our Memphis, and he's just so busy with him helping with stuff. It's kind of like I hate to ask stuff like that. By the way, Joel, you caused some shiznit, as we say on my podcast. You came on my podcast, episode 251, and you talk about wrestling and everything, and then all of a sudden I get some messages in Facebook from Carmelo saying, well, why the hell haven't you had me on?
Again, you understand? I get pissed off at that stuff, okay? So
but it's interesting, all the stuff that, especially with you guys, and I just sat and listened to Tom Brady. I sat and listened, but the things that y'all had like the first for that store sounds like, I told her and Jeannie that I would love to have something like that now, not for me, just to visit here in Jonesboro. We have all kinds of. We have all kinds of stuff where it's like,
and Jeannie can tell you more about the store than I can even remember, because Jeannie was our first employee. Yep. But we had a store in the I-95 marketplace. It was only open on the weekends because I couldn't do it during the week, and Carmela certainly couldn't do it during the week. We ran the store. We had no retail experience at all.
No, Joel, it was like a little 10 by 10 spot too.
It was like a little nothing. We had a ball. In fact, I still have a picture of me dressed up like the Road Warriors in Road Warrior paint. Okay, we had a Road Warrior weekend, and we had to ask people to come and whatever. We used to have 30 or 40 people sitting at our store. Yes. Okay, watching our little TV. We didn't have 50-inch, high definition.
With a bootleg videotape.
One of those little tiny things.
And the kicker was that all the stores in the I-95 marketplace loved us because everybody ate pizza, everybody got sodas, everybody went for hot dogs.
I bet. Yeah.
We didn't
just
have
to
any
come
of
and
that.
sit and watch that stuff, know?
Here's something funny, guys. Now, I'll just be honest with you. I grew up, we were poor. My mama would detest. It was just three of us. Thank God it was my mom, my dad, and me, because if I had been a second child, or if there'd been multiple children, I probably wouldn't even had shoes. But I'm admitting something from way back, but I actually sold bootleg wrestling tapes to pay for my bus trip for y'all. I put them on sale. Memphis Wrestling. And I sold them for like They was usually $20, but man, I want to go on those trips, so I'd run a big sale to go on the bus trips with y'all. So Joe, you two both can jump in on this. Did we make any money on those bus trips?
I can tell you when I priced it, I made it a little bit. I didn't make a lot. When I did the bus trips, and again, I'm not sure where Carmella dropped off. When I did the bus trip to Troy, New York, for the Ric Flair Terry Funk match, the I Quit match, we had 50 people on the bus for that. And the kicker was for 6 hours, it took 5.5 hours to go up there. We ran these videotapes and we showed tapes.
We always did that, even when I was still in it.
Yep. Now, they were asking at that point for Japanese tapes and what have you. But bottom line is these bus trips, we never priced them the right way.
No.
I mean, I'll give you an example. When I did the trip to Memphis, and we had 3 shows, and we had this, and we had this, and we had that, I kind of made about $20 a person. So if there was 50 people.
Did you go to Memphis after we broke up? You went back to Memphis again? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And for 50 people on a bus, I made $1,000. Okay, but that's to spend all the money that we spent. Jerry didn't give us discounts for tickets. We bought the regular seats. I mean, he gave us premier seats. But when I had Dave Brown and Lance Russell come in, okay, Jerry just said, just do me a favor, slip him something. So I gave him each $100. Okay. Well, you start adding $100 here, $100 here.
Right.
There goes your money.
It really adds up. I remember Billy Travis. Okay. And has he since passed away?
Yes, he is. Yeah,
okay.
We talked about him last week with Tom.
All right.
Brady.
I wish I could get him to confirm this. He tried to hit me up because he was on the show. He was on the card, and since you brought these people down from Philadelphia, I should get a piece of that. Okay, he tried to hold me up for $10, $15, $20. But I mean, generally speaking, we got more cooperation from Jerry in Memphis.
Yeah.
And that really came because of the tie-in that we had with Carmella. I mean,
that's called Carney. Billy Travis was Carney as the day was young. So there we go. Yeah.
You know what? Listen, just one more thing I want to say before we continue. If you talk to Jeff Jarrett, tell him I said, that I want him to do the podcast because I am the only person that I know of that got away with hitting him and didn't get hit back.
Okay.
Because when we were in Memphis, he was just a little kid.
Yeah,
and I used to call him little boy. Little boy. Yep. Then about maybe, 10, 15 years, I saw him at the Spectrum, I guess, or whatever it was at the time. And he was a heel. So I walked in and I got into the back, and I walked in and he was there. He goes, Carmella. And I went, I slapped him right in the chest. I said, why are you a bad guy? Stop it. We went back and forth laughing. But yeah, you could tell him I did that and I got away with it. So he has to do our podcast.
Now, I remember something about those trips. And I don't know if I've mentioned it on this show yet, but I mentioned on some of my shows, Waller was totally, there was no kayfabe when he talked to us. And I always remember Lawler telling us during the question and answer that, and this would have been about 4 years after it happened, 3 or 4 years after it happened, the Kaufman thing. He pretty much admitted, he didn't come out and say it was a work,
right?
But I remember just a few years ago during the 40-year anniversary of this, everybody said, well, they finally admitted it was a work. And I'm like, wait, I was on that bus trip and we pretty much asked him, and he was, all of the talent was so open with us. And this was when people weren't open, put it that way.
Yeah. And I will tell you the one thing, that was such a work that it even fooled a lot of the boys.
Oh yeah. True.
It was unbelievable.
They kept their mouths shut. And that's the thing that I thought was funny, that I don't know how many people was in that room that day, but it was almost like we all knew. Those amount of people knew it was a work kind of thing. Something else I told last week with Tom Brady, and it's because I think, Joel, you told Dennis Carluzzo, that Kurt Hennig was going to win the belt. Didn't y'all? And you came down, right?
Yep.
And I didn't go because I thought y'all were full of shit, because someone had told me before that Flair was going to get beat by Lawler when Lawler beat Flair at the Bash. And I went to that show and spent a bunch of money. So I didn't have any money, didn't get to eat the next week. And I said, Joe Goodhart and Dennis Carluzzo are full of shit. They know nothing about Kurt Hennig winning. And then I had to sit and watch because, they covered wrestling on the news. That's how popular Memphis was on Monday night.
Wait a minute. I have to say something in Brian's defense here, okay? Joe Goodhart was always full of shit. And that's why it was hard to know whether to believe him or not. I'm sorry, Joe, I got to say it.
That's why I got along so well with Carmella, because she's bigger, she's more full of shit than me.
It might have been also, this is the thing. Y'all mentioned something earlier, and I say this a lot. We had somebody that we tried to get to be on the show this week, and they wanted to charge us $3 a minute to come on the podcast.
$3 a minute.
Yeah. I've never paid. I've been doing this I'm going into my 8th year. I'm in my 8th year doing it. Never paid a cent for anyone that's been on my show. And I texted the girls and I said, you can't work a worker. And that was why y'all were so good, because y'all were right with them. Y'all knew what the business was. You was able to go right along with the wrestlers. And with Carmella growing up, there's a total different thing. It's just like Kevin Lawler. I talk to Kevin every once in a while. And Kevin's, the way he looks at his dad and growing up is just totally different than, say, I would or y'all would, because I grew up watching him on TV like I did Gilligan's Island. He went to Mid-South Coliseum and hung out with everybody. They were just people he knew, kind of thing. So,
well, see, the thing is, back then, the wrestlers, because of everything and the lack of the incredible internet and TV and all that there is today, they were just regular people like us, and they craved the attention, the time, just like we did. Nobody wanted to be on the road every day by themselves.
Oh, yeah.
They look forward to that. Today, wrestlers don't care about anybody. It's all about what they can get and what they couldn't get and whatever. It's like with this $3 a minute thing. I said to the agent of somebody, this girl's up and coming. She's nobody, okay? But I said to the agent, he goes, well, you never know